support our mission. She started as in our health and safety services, has taught thousands of individuals in CPR and first aid and aquatics, and traveled with her husband in the Air Force to be able to do that. In 1996, she got certified as an international services instructor and got really involved in the international humanitarian law piece of what we do, and has trained hundreds of participants and instructors across our country. So thank you so much, Liz. And Liz is also a board member in our Northern Utah chapter.
Perfect, I can now disappear. No, it's all right, I won't get any taller. Thank you. This was supposed to be a short video for you, but my tap dancing skills, I'm gonna get a little practice as I go back and forth around here because the video decided not to cooperate. But what it was is a story of an idea. If you think one person might make a difference in the world, you are not paying attention. Henri Dunant was a Swiss businessman who was scrambling to pitch some kind of a business deal to Napoleon III, not the first one. And he came upon a battlefield. And it was the aftermath. And there was 40,000 dead and dying people who were abandoned. Think about Rice-Eccles Stadium and lay all the bodies out there and nobody doing anything for them. He looked at that and he was so disturbed, he went to the closest village and got the people, said, we're all brothers, we need to help. And he got people to come out, help, do something. There's no numbers to say how many people were helped, but it was important to him so that he left his business idea aside, went back to Switzerland, thought about it, and wrote a book called A Memory of Solferino. Solferino was probably the bloodiest battle of the 19th century. It was very bad. He got, this was in 1859, he did that. By 1864, he had a group of people together who formed the first committee of the Red Cross, which he felt needed to be an organization that took care of the wounded, no matter whose side they were on, no matter what conditions they were in, and helped. So he wanted a neutral organization to help people. Now, you know how fast stuff moves around here. It takes us 10 years to get a traffic light. He managed in 5 years to get the first Geneva Convention with 12 countries signing on. Nothing short of phenomenal. Now that organization is 190 countries. Around the world, there are a couple of countries who don't belong, but not because they don't want to, they just don't have the capacity right now. His mission was to help the wounded on the battlefield. Our contribution came from Clara Barton, the mother of the American Red Cross, who, after the Civil War, after she helped in the Civil War, she went to Europe to rest, got in touch with the people of the Red Cross, heard about the Red Cross, and thought, oh, this is good, we can do this. And then she suggested to a meeting that she went to, something that became known as the American Amendment. She said, how about we help not only the wounded, but those in the aftermath of natural and man-made disasters. People who lost and destroyed for whatever reason. So that came the two parts of what the Red Cross was. Wounded, everybody else in other situations. Now, the movement itself has three components. The first one is the International Committee of the Red Cross. That's one Marina invented, they brought into being. Then I need to change the slide. It says 189 National Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. We've added one. So it's 190 now. There's a federation. They meet every 4 years. Every society has a vote and they work on what the initiatives are going to be. And then there are the national societies. Red Cross is one. No, it isn't. It's Coca-Cola. But Red Cross is a very close second. And what it was decided when the organization started, they would make a recognized symbol by taking the Swiss flag and turning it inside out. Instead of being a red flag with a white cross, they keep it simple and make it a white flag with a red cross. And that's where the symbol came from. But sadly, it isn't the most recognizable one because we tend to keep our light under a bushel and we don't let people know nearly enough of who we are and what we do. And of course, we use our money to help people, not like Coca-Cola, getting more people to drink whatever. Okay, the first part of the logo I sent you, the International Committee of the Red Cross, is briefly here the ICRC, the activities that they do. First off, they are a neutral and impartial organization that helps to protect people affected by war. All countries, when they become a country, must ratify or accede to the Geneva Conventions. They can't be counted as the country, an actual country, if they haven't signed for that. When they sign for the Geneva Conventions, they agree, their government agrees, that the ICRC will represent them in battlefield situations, will go to prison camps, will help people who are injured in war zones. And the countries also will subsidize the ICRC to do this. Each country has agreed to this. So that's what the ICRC does. And it educates people in international humanitarian law, which is for military referred to as the law of war, but there are rules. Unfortunately, rules sometimes get a little lost. I mean, every single one of us who owns a driver's license at some point read the highway code and was able to answer the questions on it, got our driver's license, but probably very few didn't bend a couple of those rules, sometimes on a daily basis. Unfortunately, that happens with international humanitarian law too, with much more severe consequences, lots of times. So that even though governments have agreed to the rules, if it's not government doing the damage, it's really hard to get their attention. But there are rules, and wars have limits, and one of the things the ICRC does is direct people, helps people to learn this. Also, build relationships with nations, provide humanitarian assistance, assure adequate food, shelter, medical care, and communications for civilians, wounded or sick soldiers, or prisoners of war. They register and seek access to all prisoners of war and other detainees. Their ultimate goal is to work with all nations to ensure that protected persons are treated humanely. The second part, or they're not really numbered that way, but did the pictures go away? Huh? Oh yeah, okay, all right. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, that is the group represented by one person from each society. It is one society, one vote, so that means the US vote, in theory, isn't any bigger than the vote from the Bahamas. I'm thinking that's not quite how it works out, but it's still one society, one vote. But the Federation brings all societies together to address common challenges and support whatever help's needed around the world. They promote humanitarian principles and have a humanitarian education initiative, project-based learning that helps young people become future leaders and agents of change. Anthony will tell you something about that. Values such as mutual understanding, friendship, cooperation, and respect for human beings. When the earthquake hit Haiti, 7.0 earthquake in 2010, the Federation immediately responded by deploying 21 emergency response units, including field hospitals, water treatment plants, logistics bases, portable operational centers, emergency telecommunications infrastructure, sanitation supplies from 16 national societies. The Federation knows which resources come best from which societies, so that when something occurs, all of the societies don't just all jump into the place and say, here I am, I'm here to help, you know. What's like saying I'm from the government, I'm here to help. With as much success, and the Federation decides which societies have the best resources and the proximity also to do the best help. The Federation also understands that it's necessary to move beyond disaster relief and address the underlying contributions to vulnerability, social and environmental and climate change. All of these things make a difference. The third, that's disaster response coordinating. The third picture is a group of migrant children demonstrating clean hands. Why is that a big deal? Basic health. Basic health, yeah. Red Cross had has a Scrubby Bear program teaching children to wash hands. Because a third of the population of the world, now I'm talking like 3 billion people, do not have any basic toilet facility. Think about that. If we locked the bathroom doors here, they'd be a riot. But 3 billion people, doesn't matter whether the doors are locked or not, there's nothing there. There is no basic toilet facilities. And that is another thing that the Federation is working on, to try and get a level of comfort for people. And when I'm referring to the Federation, I'm talking about all our societies. And I'll show you a picture a little further down of where the American Red Cross is involved. Now, health and community care is a really big deal. The health care activities include first aid, emergency response, epidemic control, programs in health promotion and prevention, addressing stigma, providing psychosocial care, and enabling community empowerment. The Federation is active in extensive HIV/AIDS programming, food security, and water and sanitation development. And it addresses the human consequences of urbanization, violence, climate change, regular and irregular migration. And it works in close community collaboration with communities to support their capacity building so that communities can help each other. I obviously did something wrong here, because that isn't. That's what it is. Okay, this is an eye test. Can you read what those numbers are? Anybody that can read? The first one. What does the first red block say? That's disaster affected people that are helped. That's a lot. What's the next one say? It tells you, you need a disaster and evacuation plan. If you don't all have a place to meet at the point when you have evacuated, how do you know that Johnny went to see his friend Sam over there and is still in the building? So, 13,000 family reunification searches conducted. Your Red Cross does that. All Red Crosses do that. 2 billion children vaccinated against measles since 2000. I'll leave that one alone because Anthony's going to talk about that one too. The data is even harder to read because I took it from the 2015 report, but it's a lot of people are reached by the Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Now, our next one is a message from the president of the American Red Cross, Gail McGovern. We are honored to carry your compassion and goodwill to those who are in need or in danger around the world. So that we at the American Red Cross do assist the rest of the world. International services upholds the legacies of Henri Dunant and Clara Barton by assisting vulnerable people. The International Services Division works with the Global Red Cross and Red Crescent partners to assist in large-scale disasters, build safer communities, eliminate measles, shape policy for those who are most vulnerable, and reconnect families, as well as raise awareness. The photograph at the top is the 190th society joining the movement. That is the Society of Tuvalu. The one underneath is a Nepal earthquake survivor planning to use her Red Cross cash grant to buy plywood to make doors for her family's corrugated iron shed. They have a shed, they have no doors, she's getting them. Her next priority is blankets. The people we help need the most basic of stuff. We are deprived if the electricity goes out for an hour and a half. They are deprived, in some cases, for 10 to 20 years. The Red Cross International Services helps where possible. Now look at that. See all those dots on that map? That is where the American Red Cross is assisting throughout the world. There are American Red Cross members in all those places. We really do put our money where our mouth is, and we do help. And you don't hear about it, unfortunately, because we're too busy using our money to help people. We're not gonna, it's hard to advertise, it's hard to let people know just how much we need, but we help everywhere. Reconnecting families is vital. It really is an important part of what we do when families do get separated. We have even recently been able to let people know what happened to family members who were separated in World War II. Unfortunately, the upshot is not usually a live person at that point because too much time has gone by. But families do know what has happened to their family members. It really is. We helped in Utah, didn't we? A young man. Do you remember the story?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we helped a boy who had come over here as a refugee, lost contact with his mother, and we were recently able to reconnect him and his mother last Mother's Day. But that's a constant story.
Yeah, was he Somalian or was he? It was an African nation. Yeah, that's as good as I get, I'm sorry. But that happens, and people do get separated. And it's easy. I mean, if you lose your own kid in the store or at Disneyland, you're scared. If you lose your child halfway across the world, it's worse than that. So the society, the 190 societies, there are lots of them. Now, the Belgian Red Cross has been providing first aid, emergency medical treatment, emotional and psychosocial support to victims and their loved ones in the aftermath of last week's bombings. The Red Cross is always right there. Now, I'm saying the Red Cross as a generic term because it is Red Cross and Red Crescent. While the largest Islamic society on the planet is Indonesia, and they use the Red Cross, most use the Red Crescent. But it's the same recognized symbol, the same important stuff. Now, on these pictures here, the Turkish Society, which was founded in 1868, which is ahead of our own, supports their mission by selling flavored mineral water. That works for them. Yeah. Irish Red Cross, Italian Red Cross, Cameroon Red Cross, all of these. The Syrian Red Cross, or the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, works with the ICRC on both sides of the civil war. And unfortunately, as of April last year, 42 Syrian Arab Red Cross and 8 Palestinian Red Crescent volunteers have lost their lives. Their emblem did not protect them, but they were carrying out their humanitarian duties. Now I have run out of time, but never out of stuff to say. But now I will introduce Anthony Haynes. He's a board member for the Greater Salt Lake Area chapter. He's a junior at Ames High School, which means we get him for another year. He's the on the staff of our leadership development camp, and he is the International Services and Biomedical Committee member. And aside from that, he does very little. Aren't you impressed? Okay.
All right, so this is the Measles and Rubella campaign. So this is the Red Cross moment that's really shined. It allows both youth and adult volunteers to engage themselves and engage their communities to make a change on a global scale. So in essence, what the program does is it raises donations to purchase vaccines that help children and adults across the world alleviate unnecessary suffering. Just the 3 Utah chapters, North, South, and Salt Lake chapters raised nearly $11,000 to $12,000 in the last 2 years. That equates to roughly 7,000 vaccines.
Step a little closer to the mic. We can't quite hear you.
And then Red Cross. So Red Cross, in essence, is a simulation that teaches you about international humanitarian law, and it engages them and allows them to gain a global perspective other than what they may think alone here in Salt Lake. So they go through several different stages, such as being generals at a war table to decide which situations are okay and which follows the Geneva Conventions, and goes along with international policy. They go as a person that report to see how they may be treated and what is legal and how that may affect them and other people across the world. They also go as soldiers themselves to see what is allowed and what may dictate as an actual military target or a civilian target. Okay, that's it. And then also please welcome Aileen Bentley, the board chair for the Greater Salt Lake Church.
Well, thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Anthony. I think you can see that the reach of the Red Cross stretches around the world. It is only with the generosity of our donors that we're able to carry out the mission of the Red Cross. And I'd like to invite all of you to join us on Thursday for the Heroes Recognition event, where we will recognize about a dozen heroes. We say ordinary people doing extraordinary things. To pique your interest a little bit, I'll tell you that one of the heroes we're going to acknowledge, walks on two legs but is not human. Please come and find out what that's about. If you'd like to join us, please let one of us know. We would really like to have the support of our Rotary members. There are many overlaps, I think, in our commitment to doing good works and delivering humanitarian service. It has been an honor and a privilege for me to serve as chair of the Greater Salt Lake chapter for almost a year. I have another year ahead of me. And it is through the extraordinary management of Heidi and her team that we're able to carry out our mission here in Utah. I want to tell you a little bit about our Home Fire campaign. This might be something you're interested in volunteering for. It is the goal of the American Red Cross to reduce injuries and fatalities associated with home fires by 25% in 5 years. And Utah last year, I believe, was recognized for making the biggest dent in this goal in the number of smoke detectors that we installed. So help us do that. Become one of the more than 1,000 volunteers that we have here in the state of Utah. The American Red Cross is very proud that 91 cents of every dollar spent goes to the mission. So I hope you'll open your hearts and your wallets, and please join us on Thursday at the Heroes event. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. As is our custom, Liz has signed this book for Franklin Elementary, appropriately called Women Explorers. And with that, we're adjourned. One last comment. Next week's meeting is here at the Marriott, and it's Shahab Saeed on the Middle East. Thanks.
We're available up front for questions if you have it.